to Kansas, gateway to Oz. Under the rainbow, this is where it was. Hollyhocks and red ripe tomatoes, hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. It's the best part of Dorothy's dream.
Today on Around Kansas, join us for a story about Kansas astronaut Tyler Nick Hague and his upcoming mission. Then join us for a story about bird migrations in the state. Next, we'll have a poem from Ron Wilson, and we'll end with a look at a video about George Caleb Bingham and his paintings. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Welcome to Kansas.
Well, hello again. I'm Frank, and this is Around Kansas. And it's the show about people, places, and things that make Kansas a great place to live, work, play, and come visit. I'm here in Topeka, Kansas, and I always point that way because it really is west when I point that way. And Deb's way out there in western Kansas, and she'll have some very interesting stories again today. And good grief, here we are. We're just barely into the month of October. And I know for a lot of people, it's their favorite month of the year. It is mine. I mean, it's that transition between summer and fall where, you know, you have crispy mornings, but then a very temperate afternoon. The leaves are changing, and it's a beautiful, beautiful time. There's wood smoke in the air if you're out in the country, and I don't know. It's just a fun time. And of course, there are a lot of festivals going on all over the place in October. This kind of fest and that kind of fest, and of course Oktoberfest, and of course apple cider. You know, here locally, Reeves Apple Farm. Actually, it's a fruit farm, but I've always known it as an apple farm. The harvest is in. They're making fresh apple cider. And for some reason, this isn't a commercial for them. It just is that Reese's apple cider tastes different. It is wonderful. So if you've never had any, I encourage you to stop out at Reese's Apple Farm out on Highway 24 and K4 and try some apple cider and some of the other fruit. They also have a maze there that you can walk through and ride through and the whole thing. And there are a lot of mazes around this part of the state, and I'm sure all over the state. And of course, pumpkins. Pumpkins are a great thing to use for decorations, and of course, gourds of all kinds. Deb did a story here a few years ago about gourds, and we had some fun with that. And I'm sure she'll have another story here in October about gourds. Anyway, of course, there's pumpkin spice, and there's apple cider, and you know, this is the time of year too that wine is a particular interest for a lot of people. It is one of the times of the year when there are wine sales for some reason. But there are many, many wineries in the state of Kansas now, and the harvest is in and some of the wine is ready. So it's just a great place to be here in October in the state of Kansas. So hope you get out and visit lots of places. Of course, we talked about the Flint Hills and you know how beautiful it is out there. It's been very dry this year, but regardless, the Flint Hills is a beautiful place to travel through. On two wheels, like me, that's one of the fun ways because you just kind of really get closer to it. Anyway, Deb has some very interesting stories today, so enjoy October, and we'll take a look at those stories after you see this. Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.
Hi, I'm Kim Mandarin with Hardy Insurance. I'm here to help you with all of your farm and ranch needs. When it comes to protecting your operation and your family, you need a name you can trust at a price you can afford. Call me today or visit hardyaviationins.com.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
With nearly 100 years of broadcasting excellence, Ren Radio is now live on the internet playing hit songs of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Join Jack Diamond, Mac Collins, Les Glenn, Frankie C., Antonio Barber, Wings Callahan, and the real Don Steele for some of the best music ever recorded. Hear it at rendigitalmedia.com or get the Ren Oldies Radio app in Play Store or App Store and tell Alexa, good times and great oldies on Ren Internet Radio.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Tyler N. Nick Hague is currently assigned as flight engineer for Expedition 5758, which is scheduled to launch from Russia aboard the Soyuz 56S in October. Selected by NASA as an astronaut in 2013, he completed training in 2015. Born in 1975 in Belleville, Kansas, he considers Hoxie his hometown. He is married to Lieutenant Colonel Katie Hague, U.S. Air Force. They are the proud parents of 2 sons. His parents, Don and Bev Hague, reside in Gering, Nebraska. He earned a B.S. in Astronautical Engineering from the U.S. Air Force Academy and Master of Science in Aeronautical and Astronautical Engineering at MIT in 2000. In late 2004, he deployed for 5 months to Iraq in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, conducting experimental airborne reconnaissance. In 2006, Nick joined the Department of Astronautics faculty at the Air Force Academy. He was promoted to colonel in June 2016. In this interview released by NASA, Nick talks about the mission, the risk, and the rewards of his career.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I've done over the course of the last 2 years, we do about 36 different integrated simulations where they throw every failure they can think of at us. And over the last 2 years, I've got an appreciation for just how robust the Soyuz spacecraft is. We plan for success and also all of the other contingencies, and we exercise against all of those different failures and different contingencies, and we're still able to get the mission done, get to the station, and still get home. So, if anything, I've got a very high appreciation for just how solid of a spacecraft it is.
How tough is it training for a flight on a Soyuz in a second language? That just strikes me as a really daunting challenge.
It is. Day one of showing up at NASA back in 2013, I started Russian language classes, and it continues to this day. It's really trying to learn to appreciate the language and the culture and think so that you can connect with your crewmate. What makes it easier is that my crewmate, my commander, Alexei Achenin, is doing the exact same thing. He's learning English and he's trying to meet me on my terms. And so together we develop this ability to work with each other and predict what each other is doing. We're both products of military systems, and so we think in very similar ways. And so that's also helped us click together as a crew. Yeah, so risk is a big part of it. The other part of it is the reward and what we're trying to accomplish. You're right. My wife is active duty Air Force. We're both active duty Air Force, and we've both served 20 years. So I think our approach to risk is that we look at it as what we're trying to accomplish, and we both believe in what we're doing is going to help others. And it's going to, serve something larger than ourselves. So I think that we accept those risks. We don't blindly accept them. Obviously, we train to try to minimize as much of that as possible. But that's why we're doing it. Yes, my family is going to join me in Baikonur to watch the launch. So Katie's going to bring over the boys, and they're going to see their first rocket launch. So it should be an exciting time.
Fort Wallace was the fightingest fort in the West. Fossils, Indians, soldiers, scouts, wagons, trails, pioneers, stories. Discover the story of Fort Wallace and the people who served here, the people who fought here, the people who settled here. Wallace County, where the past is present.
No matter where, no matter why, the Veterinary Health Center at Kansas State University is committed to providing quality patient care to animals and exceptional customer service to their owners. From routine checkups to emergency and specialty care, our world-renowned specialists and experienced professionals are here to discover, to teach, and to heal.
Let us know.
How can I help?
How can we help?
Hi, I'm Kim Mandarin with Hardy Insurance. I'm here to help you with all of your farm and ranch needs. When it comes to protecting your operation and your family, you need a name you can trust at a price you can afford. Call me today or visit hardyaviationins.com.
This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley.
As birds begin heading south for the winter, Kansas has a front row seat to the migration. Cheyenne Bottoms is one of the top migrating shorebird areas in the United States, and grasslands like the Flint Hills are important stops for many birds, including the buff-breasted sandpiper and the American golden plover, as they travel to their winter homes in Argentina and Uruguay, said Nature Conservancy State Director Rob Maines. In early May, the Nature Conservancy held an organization-wide birding challenge following the success of previous year's bird surveying efforts in Virginia. Kansas Avian Programs Manager Bob Penner was one of the first to accept the challenge, organizing both skilled and novice birders on 12 locations across the state. Challenge rules required all birds must be counted within a single 24-hour period. Despite comparatively small land areas and habitats, less diverse than other states such as Texas and New York, Kansas placed in the top 3 of each category of the challenge. 1, most species at a single protected property. 2, highest total number of bird species observed. And 3, highest percentage of species known to the state. Out of 22 participating states, Kansas took top honors in the final category, documenting 205 different species, or more than half of the 366 bird species known to be found in Kansas in the month of May. In total, there were about 476 different birds that called Kansas home at some point in the year, not counting the extinct species like the passenger pigeon. Cheyenne Bottoms came in second place for a single location after 126 different species were observed. Many of the locations, such as the Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve, Cheyenne Bottoms, Dingus National Area, and Smoky Valley Ranch, have a year-round public access for bird watchers, hikers, and casual observers.
Welcome to Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in Oakley, Kansas on I-70 at exit 76. I-70, after all, is America's Main Street, and we're right here on Main Street for you. Now that I'm an Oakley resident, I still come in almost every day, and I sit and listen to the conversations of the people around me. You know, the guys who are talking about the big elk they just bagged, or the folks who are taking their kid to college for the first time. People just traveling up and down the highway. Real people, just like you and me. And they find just what I find here, real people to serve them. There's history, there's scenery. We hope you'll stop and see us soon. Welcome to Oakley. Highways 40, 83, and I-70 come together right here in Oakley. Roads that lead to businesses, to magnificent rock formations, to scenic vistas, to places where legends were made. roads that lead us home. Discover Oakley, the gateway to western Kansas.
I had this horse. It was a good horse, except when the wind was blowing above 30 miles an hour. Wind was blowing about 35, 40, and I saddled him up, rode him out to the end of the lane, and I thought, well, he's doing pretty good. And about 6 jumps later, I was laying on the ground and thinking, boy, my shoulders sure hurt. I kept waiting, and it didn't get better, and so I went to an orthopedic surgeon, and that showed that I had torn rotator cuff. And said, well, I have to do surgery. I farm and ranch by myself. This is not going to work out very well. I'd been sleeping in my recliner for about 2.5 years because it hurt too much to sleep in bed on my side. I'd heard about Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center on the radio. Gotten down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 the procedure was all over. They just took some fat out of my side here and spun that down for about 45 minutes and then injected it in my shoulders, and I was on my way. It's something you don't hear about, but I thought it was worth a try, and I'm really pleased. It's really worked out well for me.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Howdy folks, I'm Ron Wilson, Poet Laureate. The cowboy really came alive in legend at the time of the great cattle drives, and the goal of the Texas drovers was to get to Abilene. This poem is in honor of the first cowtowns. One of the first cowtowns the world had ever seen was the little community known as Abilene. It all began after the Civil War here with the man for beef from the western frontier. A livestock dealer named Joseph McCoy helped bring about the American cowboy. He saw longhorns in Texas running free, and he knew what an opportunity these could be. McCoy looked for a place with grass and water abiding where he could build a big railroad siding. He traveled through Kansas on a railroad route west in search of a town that would suit his request, and when he got to the city of Abilene, he found a place which he had foreseen. It became a cattle shipping point henceforth for Texas drovers bringing cattle north. Thousands of longhorns came up the Chisholm Trail to the city of Abilene to meet the rail. The money flowed and cowboys got wild until the local folks got riled. So in time the cattle trade moved west in the Texas cattle rancher's quest. But in the history of the West, the name still resounds. Abilene, Kansas, one of the first cowtowns. Happy trip.
I will take action against herbicide-resistant weeds. I will know my weeds, and I will stop them before they go to seed. I will do whatever it takes to give my crops the upper hand, and I will use multiple herbicide sites of action because every action counts. I will take action, this time for all time.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer it and work with you.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
A couple of months ago, I was in New York City visiting family. We made the usual pilgrimage to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. While I love living the rural life, I appreciate what our big cities have to offer, especially the spectacular museums. It is thrilling for a Kansan to see the familiar face of our wild-eyed John Brown on the walls of this prestigious museum, a study by our native son, John Stuart Curry, for his mural in our State House. There is masterpiece after masterpiece in every medium and representing every era. The one masterpiece I was coming back to see was another of our Midwestern artists, George Caleb Bingham. Fur Trappers Descending the Missouri is simple and profound. Two men on a boat with their cat. The light is warm, the water still, the mood is hopeful, joyful even. Bingham captured these optimistic moments of westward expansion, and he captured our lowest moments on canvas with Orders Number 11, the federal government's sweeping displacement of the population in the wake of Quantrell's raid on Lawrence, Kansas. It was draconian, to say the least. Women, children, old people, driven from their homes with only moments to prepare, their homes and farms burned before their eyes. Bingham lived it all, the beautiful and the hideous, and he saved it for us. I stood before the Fur Trappers Descending the Missouri and thought of the film in which it stars, The American Artist, The Life and Times of George Caleb Bingham by Wide Awake Films. I was thrilled to be included as one of the historians in this film, and even prouder now that it has won a regional Emmy Award. My friends Shane Seeley and Ed Leidecker and their crew are among the best, and their work consistently excellent. Congrats to all involved. Visit the Wide Awake Films website to order the DVD. Every kid in Kansas and Missouri and beyond should see this.
It was supposedly found in an antique shop. It wasn't even signed.
He spotted it in the window, and he recognized it as a great, iconic masterpiece.
A masterpiece with the humblest of origins. He learned his trade from traveling painters. He wandered the country, painting elites and commoners, and anyone who could pay with gold or silver. But he made his name painting the river.
He helps us to understand who we are as a nation and how we came to think of ourselves as Americans.
He constructed an American identity out of that stuff of the frontier that had resonance on a national scale.
He ran for office and voiced his opinions on canvas. He filled those paintings with his friends and neighbors and enemies. There were more than a few of those. Many more after he dared speak out in a time when men were jailed or shot if they stood on the wrong side of a debate.
It's like this thirst for revenge overrides everything.
And it cost him money, jobs, prestige. What kind of man was he?
He's a Westerner.
Highly ambitious.
One of the very first American artists to make a national reputation.
He helps us to see where we've been and perhaps where we might go in the future.
Well, Well, another week is gone. I'm Frank, she's Deb, and we'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. We're the best part of Dorothy Street.